we were asking in this mimer about what's the question of the Ben Chacham. What's he asking? If he's a Ben Chacham, if the Torah calls him a Chacham, why would he be asking such questions about
recording in progress?
He definitely knows what they are, and he knows the idea of the whole the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why does he have to be told about that, and what does it mean about Liyiras of Hashem Elokeinu? We explained that the question that he asks is about Eschem. He asks about Torah mitzvahs need to be mamshach the Ein Sof. How can the Ein Sof come down through mitzvahs and gashmis? Mela, the others who are not Eschem, not you. So the others, yes, they can get the Torah mitzvahs they got the Ein Sof, or they got whatever Amshachs it was through doing the mitzvahs beruchnis. But we, the mitzvahs, have to be done begashmis, and that's what's primary. So how is it possible that with the physical fulfillment of mitzvahs, that's how we are going to be mamshich the Ein Sof? So now we're going to get to the answer once we understand what the question was of the Ben Chacham. Now we're going to be able to explore what the answer is. How do we explain this to him? Ois Gimel, line 12, page 5. And so to this is the response. We were slaves to Pari in Mitzrayim, and he took us out. This is measure for measure. Just like Hashem took us out of the servitude, the enslavement in Mitzrayim, which being slaves indicates the lowest state that the person could be in. In a similar vein, just like servitude, slavery, is a very, very low state, the fulfillment of mitzvahs has to be an action, because in the person, what is their low state? What is the lowest one of all the powers that he has? The power of action. So he has to take and elevate that power of action, just like we were taken out of the state of avdus, of servitude. As he says, just fulfilling the mitzvahs in the physical, which is corresponding to the idea of the idea of doing being taken out of the lowest level of Mitzrayim. That's not enough. You need to have another component. There has to be also the idea of bittul. Similar to what's explained concerning the reasons for the creation of the world, that there's many explanations about why the world was created. For example, at the beginning of Samach Vav, he brings us down to so that the perfection, the completion of his powers and his actions should become revealed, and that can happen only in the creation, like it's brought down Kabbalah. Other similar things, are similar to this. But after all the explanations that's brought down in Kabbalah about this, the main reason is like the statement of the Medrash on the Pasuk, that his thighs are pillars of marble. What does that mean? So he plays off of the word shoykov. So he says, Zeh ha'olam, the Medrash says, this is the world, shenishtoike kakadosh baruch hu lebroisoi. He's explaining shoykov from the word tshuka. This is the world that Hashem desired to create it. And the Saba Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisleis Baruch Dir V'Tachtonim, that Hashem desired to have a home down here below. So how is that an answer? He didn't explain yet why. So here's where the answer comes, that there is no answer. Like the statement of the Alter Rebbe, that there's no question, you cannot question a desire. Why does a person desire something? There's no why. There's no explanation for that. This is something completely beyond reason and rational thought. That's the same idea that there were Moshe Rabbeinu was told, and others were told in other occasions, be quiet. This is what arose in the thought. She'etzel Moshe shemadrigosoi, he madrigas hachachma, top of page Yud, that Moshe Rabbeinu, that was the loftiest level, he was the level of chachma. And therefore, chachma's approach is to be able to understand and intellectually comprehend something. Still in all, he was told, yes, you are about chachma, but shtoik, he needed to have the level of bittul, he needed to have what was told to be silent. So in other words, one can only connect with the highest, most level, with Hashem's desire to create the world, through the level of bittul. Because the desire of Hashem's creation was also something that's beyond intellect, indicating an idea of bittul from our perspective. This is also the response to the wise son, that he asks, what's the idea of doing mitzvahs in action, in the physical? He's a ben chacham, like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the level of chachma. The ben chacham represents, he's called ben chacham, he represents the idea of chachma and seichel. So from the perspective of seichel, from the perspective of intellect, the physical world makes no sense. That Hashem should want to be connected with the physical world makes no sense. And therefore, the avodah tzarich li's beruchni is dafke. It had to be specifically in the physical, in the spiritual. Excuse me. Though nobody is putting down the chacham for his chachma, they're not saying, you know what, your chachma is worthless. You shouldn't be dabbling in chachma. You should just be doing what you're told, and that's it. No, there has to be understanding. There has to be comprehension. But that is insufficient to connect with Hashem. To connect with Hashem, with Chachma alone, with Havana Vasaga alone, we cannot reach that. It's insufficient. He has to be also the level of bittul, because the whole idea of Hashem's connection with this world is beyond reason. So therefore, the Chacham is asking, why mitzvahs in the physical? How can the Ein Sof come down in the physical? This is something that defies logic. This is something Hashem desired, and desired, there's no question on it. So therefore, this is what the point that we tell him. And now it can be understood also why it says, Vayitzaveinu Hashem is called Chukim L'Yira. V'zeu Mashakasu, that's what it says, B'siyam Inyan. At the conclusion of this response, it says that Hashem commanded us to do all these Chukim L'Yira, to fear Him, that we asked before, that seemingly fear is not the ultimate avodah. Unless there's no avodah like the avodah of love. Love is even greater than awe. So why do we emphasize over here fear and awe of Hashem? She says, the main thing is action, to do it. As it says, the emphasis is on the doing, not the spiritual mitzvah. But we need to ensure that it's not like overwhelmed or blocked or subsumed in our wisdom part. Has to be done in a way of awe, the level of a servant. There is the faithful servant, which is a very high level, that Moshe Rabbeinu was called an Eved Neman, and then there's the simple servant that just does everything with Kabbalah soil, until even the combination of both of them together, that he has both levels of bittul, the bittul that comes after you understand, and the bittul that comes prior to understanding, which is a combination of the greatest form. So in other words, what the Rebbe is saying here, we have avodim hayinu l'parim b'Mitzrayim. Therefore, our Torah mitzvahs has to be like an Eved, has to be in a way of bittul, that we don't understand why. We don't. It makes no sense that the physical should be somewhere where the Eibusher should be in. Even though you're a ben chacham and you understand everything, your approach has to be in a way of yira, in a way of avodim, in a way of bittul. Ois Daled, line 13. Also, we could add and explain concerning the three ideas of the ceremonial mitzvahs, commemorative mitzvahs, the super rational decrees, and the logical laws that the child asked, that Ben Chacham asked, not necessarily a child, the Ben Chacham asks, Ma ha'edes ha'chukim v'mishpatim. So he says, Shehem k'moy sharin yonim ha'pesach shenachlok l'shloisha in yonim. The other matters of Pesach are also divided into three categories that we have about them. The Pesach matzah mother. So in a similar vein, there is Eidos Chukim Mishpatim. Ubepratis Yoiser, and even more specifically, in Matzah Gufa, Yeshlam Sholosh Matzahs. In Matzah itself, we also have the number 3, having to do and corresponding to Eidos Chukim Mishpatim. Like the expression of the Alter Rebbe in the Siddur, in other words, in the part of the Siddur that's the Haggadah, it says that you have to arrange Sholosh Matzahs Menachim Zalzeh, 3 matzvahs lying one on top of the other. HaYisrael, the Alter Rebbe says, V'olav HaLevi, and upon the Yisrael you place the Levi matzah, V'olav HaKoyin, and upon him the Koyin. So what's the significance of these 3, the divisions of 3 over here? V'shloisha in Yonim Elu, these 3 matters, Eidos Chukim Mishpatim, Pesach Matzah Mar, V'sholosh HaMatzahs, Hem Kineged Shloishas HaKavim. These correspond to the 3 lines, Kavi Yamin, Kava Smoil, Kava Emtoi, the right line, the left line, and the middle line. So he's going to explain how that is so. He says in line 23, the idea behind this is, what are mishpatim? Logical mitzvahs, rational mitzvahs, that a person would do even if he wouldn't have been told to do it. V'zeu in Yonishal Yisrael. That corresponds to the matzah that we call the Yisrael. Shall call Adam, because every human being, not even a Yid, a Befrat ish Yisrael, how much more so a Jewish person, Misnaig al pi seichel. He does things logically, he does things rationally. At least that's what the aim is for, and that's what people say that they do. When they actually do it, that's something else. But officially, we're rational people. We're intellectuals. That is the basic level, the level of Mishpatim, the bottom matzah, the Yisrael. The Eidos, and what is the Eidos? The commemorative mitzvahs. Hema mitzvah shaseichel mitzad atzmai einu mechayim. Those are the mitzvahs that the intellect on its own does not obligate us to do it. But when he hears about it from another, he also understands that you do mitzvahs to commemorate things. That's the idea of the Levi, Shu Inyan HaKabbalas oil, it's the idea of the accepting of the yoke of heaven, Shalamaylam, that is beyond the top of the next page, Mas Seichel, that it's beyond intellect, but the main thing is he's receiving it from someone else. That's the idea of Kabbalas oil, just like the Levi that receives, as we'll soon explain, from the Kohen that's on top of it. This comes as a result of the Kohen. It says that the Leviim will accompany you and serve you. So in other words, the Leviim are sublimated to the Kohanim. They receive from the Kohanim. So where the Leviim receive the Eidos, that's in a way of something that they wouldn't have come up on their own, they hear it from somewhere else, they receive it from the Kohen. The idea of chukim are mitzvahs. They are beyond reason completely. That's the idea of the Kohen that is be higher than the Levi. Perhaps it has to do, there's a Maimer Chazal that says that a guy once told Rabbi Kiva that Elekechem Koyimhu, that your God is considered a Kohen. So it means the idea of things that are completely beyond this world, things having to do with God, have to do with the concept of a Kohen. So these are the 3 levels that we find by the Seder, and that's why we have Eidos Chukim Mishpatim. I say, according to what it says, like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. Moving, it's understood. Also in the future, we will also have these 3 things of the Eidos Chukim Mishpatim, the Pesach Matzah Morer, and the level of the three matzahs, Yisrael, and upon it the Levi, and upon it the Kohen. This is what it says. In the Kapitel Tillim that was of that year, Tafshin Lamed, the Rebbe started saying, Kapitel, that was the year the Rebbe was saying the Kapitel Samach Tes and Tillim. And over there it says, Elokim Yeshia Tzion, that Hashem will save Tzion v'yivna Yehuda, he will build up the cities of Yehuda, v'yashva sham v'yireshua, they will settle it and they will inherit it, v'zer avadim yichalu, and the descendants of his servants will take it as a lot and their inheritance. And those that love his name will dwell in it. And the preface, the Mashanamar Elakim Yeshia Tzion v'yivna Ari Yehuda, when it says Hashem will help Tzion and he will build up the cities of Yehuda, that goes on the times of Mashiach. Zehu Masha Oisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what Hashem does. It's not about what we are doing. Where it says later in the pasuk, he will settle there and inherit it, and his children will have it as a nachla, and those that love his name will dwell upon it. That's concerning the Yidden, what the Yidden will now do there. Since he doesn't include them together, he divides them like in three different things, as we'll soon see. It's understood that these are three divisions, what they are all about. It says, what's the first thing? They will settle it and they will inherit it. That's the idea of an inheritance. Like the Alter Rebbe uses the expression in Tanya, a great, powerful wealth that he didn't inherit, that he didn't toil in it. That's the level of the Yisrael that we said is the lowest of the three matzahs. The idea of inheritance is applicable to every single Yid, since every Yid is a child of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. So therefore it's something that's across the board to every Yid. The idea of this seed of his descendants is they will inherit it. Who the Inyan all of Levi. It's what it says that upon it is the Levi, Kal Shevet Levi Namar v'Yilava Alecha v'Yishrasucha. Concerning Shevet Levi, it says they will escort you and they will serve you. But it continues V'Hashem hu nachlosa, and Hashem is his inheritance. So we see the association between Levi and the idea of inheritance. But it doesn't mean only the people that are called Levi. It also could apply to every Yid, like it's written in the Rambam. Not only the Shevet Levi alone, but every single person from the inhabitants of the world. Their spirit gave Lamed to stand for Hashem, to serve him. So then, if he devotes himself to Hashem, Hashem becomes his inheritance, his lot. Hashem chelkiv nachlos, Hashem is his portion, Hashem is his lot. So that's the idea of the Levi. That's the second matzah. Those that love his name will dwell in it. It's where it says that upon it, and upon the Levi is a kohen. Like Chazal say, have him talmid of Shalarin, of Shalom, of Shalom, be of the disciples of Aaron. Love peace and pursue peace. He did peace between a man and his wife, and between a man and his fellow. And on a deeper level, the idea of Aaron was the main thing is that he made peace between the Yidden and Hashem. Top of the last page, Kefich Messiah, like he concludes, he brings them close to Hashem, to the Torah. So therefore, we see that the Aaron is not just about bringing people together, a husband and wife, and about bringing friends together, that somehow there was some type of separation, but he's also about bringing Yidden and Hashem together. Because of that, Kehanim are called those that love his name. Because the Chazal say Hashem's name is peace. So therefore, the Kehanim fall into the category because the Kehanim follow in the footsteps of Aaron. They are his physical descendants, and they are completing his work and they are doing his work. So therefore, they are also those that love his name. That, in other words, peace. They try to bring peace. That's also where it says that they will dwell within it, but oifen shall kvius, in a way of being settled in Eretz Yisrael. So he says an interesting thing. The kivan shekehanim muzarim alatuma, since kehanim are prohibited from becoming tamei, lachein tzrichim lias be'Eretz Yisrael yishkenu vav loy be'Eretz Am. Therefore, they have to be in Eretz Yisrael. They have to dwell over there, and not in the lands of the nations. Shu inen hapirud alma de pruda. That the land of the nations is considered a separation from Hashem. It's considered the worlds of separation, like in the terms of Kabbalah. Shegazra al gusha chulut, the Chamim decreed that even a clod of earth from a place that's not Eretz Yisrael will be considered tamei, and therefore it's if let's say an item of truma comes in contact with it, you can't eat it, and so on. Another reason why yishkenuva goes under Kehanim, which shows them being settled. How much more so because the established place of Avidasim, of their service, is in the Beis HaMikdash. All of them are concerning the Beis HaMikdash. It says, you search out where he dwells. So Yishkenuva has to do with the L'Shichnai. So Yishkenuva has to do again with the Kehanim, which can have to do with the level of dwelling in the earth, which is in Eretz Yisrael itself. It's the Beis HaMikdash. And that's the term Mishkan also. Vasli Mikdash goes on the Mishkan, that's called the Mikdash is called Mishkan. Similar to what it says, from the entrance of the Oil Moed, it says about the Kohen Gadol, they will not go out for 7 days. They has to be over there. The Kohen Gadol has to be over there in a way of that he's established over there and set over there. In other words, the place where he is has to be in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's why it says Yishkenuva, going on the level of the Kohen. Vav, so he concludes, that's what the Chacham is saying. What is the Eidus and Chukim Mishpatim that Avaya commanded you? That is a question of the Chacham, because since he is wise, so he expresses who he is, like it's brought down here in the footnote. So therefore, by his question, you could tell that he's wise. Mao in Kima mitzvah begashmi is the fact that he knows to ask such a question about what's the idea of fulfilling mitzvahs in the physical. Why through the mitzvahs in the physical, Hashem's very essence comes down. To this we respond to him that we were slaves. Only through the bittul we can draw down Hashem's very essence. And through that we arrive at the future redemption. When Hashem will save Tzia and V'yivna Ara Yehuda, he will build up the cities of Yehuda. They will settle there. They will inherit it. And the descendants of his servants will make it their lot. Those that love his name will dwell in it. They will eat over there in the Beis HaMikdash from the other Karbanis and from the Karban Pesach, the Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, and the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Bekarav Mamish, speedily in our times.